Zara Kay, we are here at the Faithless Forum 2021. Thomas Westbrook, made a lot of this stuff happen, and we're really talking about a lot of different topics. From you're discussing Islam, and there's other people who are just talking about Christianity mainly, or ghosts, you name it. What is your motivation for your protesting? Like, what is your goal?
Yeah, I guess with this forum, one of it was, bringing people up to speed on like, hey, ex-Muslims exist, and we need your support, and we're like at the brink of life or death in many cases. But I think overall my activism or my existence to keep talking about Islam has a lot to do with countering those ideas, people that had never thought about it, because when they listen to atheist Christians or ex-Christian atheists, it is something that they do take on and they appreciate, but it's not culturally relevant to them. So like the science panel, and yeah, there are parts of Islam that are very anti-science, like evolution. But there's so much more that, in this day and time is actually being practiced in Islam that shouldn't be, because Christianity met Enlightenment values a long time ago, and it's now time for Islam. But we know Islam to be the true book, like the Quran to be the true book, and the only book and the book for all times, and that kind of stops us from moving forward. We're brought up with the idea that, we can never defy the Quran, and we love Muhammad and Allah more than anything in this world. They feel like there is a space where people need to go like, hang on, we need to start countering these things. We need to start talking about it. I'm sure ex-Muslims have existed for decades, but have never really spoken about it, or have never had as much attention as they do now, and it's growing.
Yeah, so that begs the question, what are you seeing that's wrong? I mean, you spoke about it here, but what do you see that's wrong with the way atheists in America are dealing with the topic of Islam?
I think I've found, denominations of liberal, even atheists, go like, oh, but we must respect the hijab, it's their culture, or, apostasy rights only apply in Muslim majority country, it's still their culture and their law. And, Saudi Arabia, hey, women got to drive, that's a big plus. No, that is not a big plus. Having them to drive is not a win. There's a lot more to go. We're in the 21st century, and women still live like they're in the 14th century. We're not given equal rights. No, we don't have to be married to get inheritance from our husbands, or we don't have to conform to those ideas that are set out for us. And I think the biggest problem is that a lot of people don't want to talk about that topic. And when you do, you're shut down by a lot of the liberal lefts. And it's hard because I'm a liberal, I'm left, but a lot of times they're like, oh, but you're Islamophobic. And I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, why? Like, I talk about Christianity too, I talk about Hinduism too, I don't agree with either of them. I never get called Hindu-phobic, I never get called Christian-phobic. Christians will just go like, oh my God, you're dumb. And I'm like, yeah, great, okay, cool. Muslims will go like, oh, I will find you and kill you. And that's horrible. The fact that we have to live even in the West in fear, where there are areas in Sweden or the UK that I cannot visit, it's scary. It's scary because I remember filing a police report in the UK and no action was taken. They just told me, don't go to this place again. And I'm like, that's your solution? What happened to, what happened to protecting my rights when I've done nothing but exercise my free speech? It's not like I'm going around telling people they need to be killed, but, I've heard so many places where they're like, oh, it is our duty to deconvert homosexuals in Islam, or it is our duty to bring these ex-Muslims back to Islam, or let them go. There's so much cognitive dissonance there. You'll see people go like, oh, we need to stop the oppression against Uyghur Muslims in China. But then, okay, ex-Muslims should be killed in Muslim majority countries. And these are people who live in the West. Which begs the question, why won't you move to a place that accepts your idea? Like, why are you in the West? And the common idea is because we can change and convert people in the West and spread dawah, which is preach, to people here. And that just kind of shows their motivation. You know, you have the right to live in a Western country and exercise your freedom, and nobody's telling you not to pray, nobody's telling you to do anything, but you don't want those rights for, you know, ex-Muslims or non-Muslims in Muslim majority countries because you'd rather they be killed. And I think there's not enough support. You know, there's a lot of censoring, there's a lot of cancel culture, there's a lot of people trying to get me fired from my workplace because I have personal beliefs that I don't bring at work, but, you know, they can't tolerate. Why are ex-Muslims being successful in their own careers? They can't take that happiness. And I think this is exactly why we need the support of a lot of other atheists to go like, hey, hang on, that's not fair. You know, Christianity does this as well, and we call it out, and we don't get that much backlash.
Right.
And it's only fair that we stand up for ex-Muslim rights as well.
What do you think? Do you think it's possible that, I mean, obviously it potentially will happen. There's going to be progressive ideas, but in your mind, are you more about trying to just get people to wake up about Islam altogether? Or are you for reform, like trying to get people to say, look, I get it. You want to believe in Allah. Like, I'm not going to convince everybody to not be a believer anymore. But where do you stand on that idea?
I think somewhere in the middle. So having my own family who were quite conservative, never abusive as such, seeing them still hold on to spirituality but love me immensely, it's made me understand that, you know, do they have to be like me to respect me? I'm not asking them to respect my ideas. And, you know, and my dad goes like, but I don't want you to talk about Allah and Muhammad. And I'm like, but I don't want you to pray. Is that fair? And, you know, we've decided that, great, we have boundaries now. So I would rather be around, you know, Muslims who believe in Reformation and who reject dogma and accept spirituality than to, you know, bring the notion that this can never happen or they cannot exist, because they do exist. So many Muslims I know who would support me for women's rights, but they're like, oh yeah, I don't believe in blasphemy. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to. The problem is when people do believe in it, they're harmful ideas. And if you don't have to believe, like I had this conversation with my family, and the reason I bring my family in is because we were very, like, you know, brought up very religious, but not very cult-like. So, you know, having this conversation with my dad, and, you know, we were talking about, what do you think of blasphemy laws? And he didn't know what they were. So I'm like, you know, killing people over it. And he's like, I don't like it when they burn the Quran, but I don't think they should be killed. I mean, I find it extremely disrespectful, but that's no reason to kill someone. And I would rather that 1,000,000 times than somebody going like, I will kill you for this, or I will shame you, or I will guilt you, or, you know, ostracize and completely dehumanize you. And that's made me appreciate a lot of Muslim feminists as well. I don't think Islam is a feminist religion, but I do appreciate that Muslims are speaking out about sexism within their own cultures or within their own communities as well. And it's hard. It's hard for, like, I still want to support this women, and I do. And I'll fight for their right to do such things, because it's a movement where we all need to get involved, even if I don't like Islam. Like,
This is, you know, I'm taking a deeper dive into Islam, and I'm realizing progressive ideas are like so far removed from what you're describing Islam is that I think that it shocks atheists to hear how intense some, not all, but some, and it's a good majority of Islam, especially predominantly Islamic countries in the world, are towards women and the way they are in their activities. I mean, extreme patriarchic systems. So I wonder if you think that atheists and all, like humanists and secular humanist progressives, will start to finally maybe take a stronger stance and realize this does not make us bigots.
yeah.
This makes us people who recognize a problem in modern times.
Yeah, you know how movies have disclaimer in the start? Just like, you know, these are not depictions of real events. I feel like every atheist, like, who's not coming from an ex-Muslim background, but even me who is coming from a Muslim background, but even me, like, I sometimes have to put a disclaimer, hey guys, there's a difference between Islamophobia and anti-Muslim bigotry. I don't accept Islamophobia. I will not tolerate anti-Muslim bigotry. And that, you know, puts me at like my own little island where, far-right Christians are like, oh, but like all Muslims are bad, or, far-right Hindus are also like that. And I'm like, no, that's not true. No, not every child born into a family just becomes a suicide bomber. That's not how it works. I get those so many times. When the Christchurch attack happened, a lot of people started blaming ex-Muslims, like sending us death threats and blaming us for it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what did I do? That guy was a white supremacist who had real issues with Muslims. And that is also something I would counter.
Yeah.
At the same time, do I have to ask every Muslim if they agree with terrorism? Like when they make their videos and they go like, oh, we still believe Sharia law is good and whatnot. And I'm like, well, then can you actively also put a disclaimer that you don't agree with ISIS? Like, I find it ridiculous, but I still think it's a productive way to move forward, to go like, these are two different concepts. I believe in calling out bad behavior, no matter who it is, and also calling out the bad ideas. And the good ideas are not exclusive to one religion or religion. They're more humanist, if anything, and we can still pick out the good in religion. I still like the celebrations on Eid and the festives, like they're fun. Don't like any of the prayers, but hey, I'll take the food, I'll take the family gatherings, I'll take all of it. But yeah, no, I think that we need to move forward. We need to start creating discourse, and you will find people that will attack, and you will find people that no matter what will misconstrue your intentions. You just have to take that bullet and go ahead and go like, well, you know what? I would rather give my attention to people who actually want to listen than to people who are just going to start trolling, because those are not your audience. They might give you more views, but those are not the people you're convincing. I still think that content and them watching your channel is really good, because it shows that, hey, a lot of people are now talking about it. And they're not, they'll tell you, and evidently they'll tell you, oh, you're misinformed, or you're talking to the wrong person, whatnot. But you just keep doing you, and we just move forward with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.